Everybody hear that little note?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
We're good to go?
yes,
Okay,
good to go.
so we will call the August 17th, 2021 State Board of Landscape Architects meeting in session. It is 9:36 due to technical difficulties.
Okay.
Board members present today, Dominic, Ann, member board executive Bob, myself, Mark Aragoni, and Pamela Brown is also present. We did get notification that Phil Barlow may be late to this meeting, and actually he's logging on right now. Hey, Phil.
Good morning.
Phil.
Hey, Phil, we just called the meeting to order,
Phil.
so you're officially here.
Okay, cool.
Great. Okay, first on the agenda, review of the minutes for May 18th. Did everybody have a chance to look at them? If not, we can take a minute or two to go through them.
I looked at them.
Any comments, Ann?
No comments. They look good.
Tom?
I'm good with them. Thank you.
Phil?
No comments.
Motion to approve, anybody?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Comments of any person present today? I don't think we have anybody else present. If we can jump to 3, DCP Investigation Division Complaint Status Report. Pamela, I think you just wanted to state there was nothing.
Yes, so Pamela Brown, Director of Investigations. For the record, our last report that we submitted is the most current, as they are reported out quarterly, so we have nothing new at this meeting.
Okay, thank you very much for attending, though.
Thank you.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
Bye.
Bye now.
Okay, number 4, old business. I think I actually sent out the PowerPoint from Clark. Did I do that?
I think you did.
Okay, because it's been
I
on me
can't-
for
I
a
can't
long
see.
time. Now I can officially say, did anybody have a chance to look at it? Is that something that we can use? And can we finally get up to UConn today?
I think we
Today,
I
this
think-
this semester.
I think we can. I think I saw it. I looked at it. It needs to be tweaked a little bit for our use, which isn't bad. I just think we need to do a reach out and see if we can get up there and have a conversation with somebody's contacts. I don't know if Phil has a contact up there, if they've got some sort of professional practice that's going to be done or something along those lines, to make a presentation about licensure. So slow and steady wins the race. We also have to check their protocols on how they're going back and if they're going to allow all that fun stuff as well.
Yeah, or if we can Zoom it or however they do an online presentation. Phil, are you still teaching up there or no?
Mark, they call you about a week before the semester. So, yeah. And that's
It's
no
fine.
joke for adjuncts, but I did teach last semester the history course. Yeah, so don't know about next semester.
You know, I've just got a quick comment on this. Given that everybody's used to Zoom, maybe there is a way to make the introduction via Zoom, even if it's just a quick 10, 15 minute introduction, like to get people thinking about it. And then say, we'll do a more deep dive in the future, in a month, in 2 months, whatever it is.
Yeah, I kind of like that idea. I'd love it not to be a once-off. Maybe we do an introduction of the board. Oh, wow, the Board of Landscape Architects is actually people. And then, so it's not just we do a presentation, then we disappear and maybe we do it next year. It would be great if we somehow remained in contact with them.
One thing,
And-
and a couple of us swim in different ponds, and I'm not trying to drag them in. I know I'm pushing ASLA for a portfolio review, and we have an intern from UConn in our Meriden office who we've been working with. I mean, we don't have to team with them, but if they're going to do a portfolio night, that would be a great opportunity for us to go up and have a little one-on-one time with the students as well, so they understand, okay, juniors and seniors, this is what's going to go on. I'm hoping that they do it again this year, but obviously it's all depending on what's going to happen, but that might be a good option as well.
So I know, Dom, I think we had you kind of taking the lead on this one. Is that something that you still want to try and do? And maybe Phil, if you get called, a week before.
Yeah,
class.
I think we double, triple team, whatever we have to do to make it happen. I have no problem trying to take the lead on that one.
Okay. So
I've got people in my house. Lauren Holy's on the board. And if Phil, if you have a contact to reach out to see if we can coordinate with a professor or whoever's involved up there. I'm not personally involved with anybody at UConn, so maybe we reach
Peter's role up there.
reach out to one of them and say, what do they think our option is to do a presentation? Can it be weaved into somebody's class or the Zoom meeting at night? What do you think the best option is?
Yeah, I can do that, Dom. You might also want to check with the student chapter president. I mean, that
Okay.
might be a good way to go also.
All right. Yeah, I didn't even think of that. That's a great idea.
Yeah. They can kind of make things happen.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll keep it on old business. I think it's good to just keep it as an agenda item.
Yeah,
And we'll keep
agree.
keep updating it. 4B, continuation of discussion regarding Phil Doyle's concern over the LA stamp, as well as Mr. Barlow's similar concern. We had some back and forth after that last meeting. I know I reached back out. I just don't feel like we've gotten anywhere as far as pushing this any further. Bob, have you gotten anything else besides the correspondence that we've received?
Mark, I have not.
Yeah, it's frustrating to say the least. And I think if we went back to the meeting minutes from May,
Check.
just gonna try and pull it up quick. Cynthia Fernandez, who is the DCP attorney, had a discussion with Julianne Avalone, DCP's legal division director. And it was decided that the issue be taken up with Raul Rodriguez, the board's attorney from the AG's office.
Right, so we've gone full circle. I think it was mentioned at the last meeting. Phil
Because
mentioned that.
Raul is the same attorney who came to one of our meetings that took up Phil's sort of complaint. And it seems like we're just going round and round and round and round.
Yeah, but Mr. Rodriguez did meet with the board. He also met with me privately and I voiced my complaint. That's been what, 2 years ago or is that 1 year ago?
It was probably more than a year. And then
Yeah.
we did have some email back and forth. I think I actually spoke with him too. I think it's just a matter of, I'm gonna have to reach back out to him and see if anything has come of it. And I haven't done that, but I don't see any other thing we can do.
Mark, I think that's the best course of action as the chair, just to.
Yep.
Might just put on-
reconnect with him.
Yeah, good. Thanks, Bob. So just to put on maybe another hat, Dom, you're still on the advocacy committee with CT ASLA, right?
Yes.
I mean, just to come at it from another direction, maybe you guys can think about meeting with DOT because we were getting hit with this DOT issue again on another project, and we all know DOT. They're not going to change just because we ask them to. They're pretty entrenched. But yeah, they will not take a landscape architect stamp on anything.
So I will reach back out to Raul Rodriguez. I feel like I know him pretty, I'm just going through emails now. We
Yeah,
did have some back and forth, but it just never came. There's never been any discussion or, yeah, I'll go talk to DOT or, I think our request originally was, can we please send out a strongly worded letter again? But that hasn't even come through. So I will reach back out to Raul. Dom, if that's something that you want to do on the advocacy
It's
side.
something that they've been working on we've been working on it for over a year and a half, and it's a sensitive subject at DOT. I mean, landscape plans at DOT are not even allowed to be certified stamped by a landscape architect. They're certified stamped by an engineer.
right.
I've dealt with it. We're making inroads with Matt Very and with the landscape group or the landscape unit there. That course of action was trying to develop, this is for everyone, an on-call for LA at some point, to try to have that as a door in, but we're working that avenue with advocacy to try to get in.
Dom, when you say you're working it, I mean, are we trying to get a meeting? What exactly is?
Yes, we're trying to figure out right now. First of all, the last 6 months, you're not getting a meeting because they were basically shut down. We can get a Zoom meeting, but it's identifying the proper people to talk to. And what's happening at DOT is there's been a big retirement push in the last 18 months. So, I mean, case in point, the director of highways just got assigned. The principal highway director was just assigned literally last night, and it was vacant for a long time. And then people have been moved around. So trying to find the person, the commissioner is not the answer. We know that because we need to actually go to the mid-level directors, and I don't know what they're called. And that's what we're trying to kind of navigate our way through, working with a couple of my shop and the Stantec's and the VHBs of the world to try to navigate who's the right person to talk to, who's going to have the right ear.
Does Matt not know that either?
Matt knows it, and we've been sensitive to Matt and Susan on what their recommendations are. We think we're going to go in through the planning department through that avenue, and then obviously we were waiting for a face-to-face, which is probably going to be this fall. They're going back tentatively around Labor Day. So
Tentatively,
as everyone is, but it's going to be number one on the agenda now anyway. So we got out of the long session. We have a short session next year, which is going to be when I mean sessions, obviously legislative is what we watch. You know this, Phil. So with the short one coming up, we can actually do a lot more in terms of advocacy with this.
so I think that's good to hear. And then I will push on the Attorney General side. At least we have a contact and he's very familiar with what's going on. We'll just continue to hammer away from multiple sides. I don't know if there's anything else we can do at the moment. So Bob, I would keep this one on there too. Maybe summarize that,
Yes.
we can go the advocacy side and that I'll reach out to Raul again.
Will do.
4C, continuation of discussion concerning live attendance requirement for landscape architects, CEUs.
I'd make it, we said we're going to take August 17th in the last set of minutes. I would strongly recommend a motion or that we table it until November 16th and continue it.
Yeah, I agree. Anybody else have any comment on that?
I agree.
Agree.
So Bob, I don't think we have to make a motion. I think we can just,
Yes, I'll note it in the minutes.
yep.
To be continued. at the board
We live in a
session.
strange world. I think we can all attest to that right now.
Yeah.
You got that right.
Yes, sir.
Okay, 5, new business. 5A, letter from Joanne Parsons concerning reinstatement of her Connecticut landscape architecture license.
Mr. Chairman, I
Yep.
I read the letter. At her request, I placed that on the agenda. It's a pretty straightforward process. I think, I have a response that I send out. It's an email that goes out to people that want to reinstate their license. I'm just going to go over to, I just want to see when her license.
2018, she said.
Right. So, I mean, basically she pays the reinstatement fee and she provides documentation for each continuing education period that has passed since the date her license lapsed. So she's really got just one biennium, 2018 through 2020.
Well, if she did renew in 18, we would audit prior to that. Yeah, so it's 2018 to 2020.
Yeah.
I mean,
And
like,
what is the reinstatement fee, Bob?
It's $180.
And how does that compare to just the annual? That's 180 additional to,
No, she pays $180. The annual fee is $160, but when you reinstate, you pay the flat fee of $180, regardless of how many years it is. And when the license is approved, that fee carries the applicant or the licensee through the end of the current license period they're in, and at which point they continue on to renew at $160 per year.
so it's like a $20 tax, kind of.
Yeah. For whatever reason, we don't collect back fees. It's always been a flat fee of $180.
Okay,
So
okay.
in essence, it's $20 more than, it would be the current renewal. But then after, but they may only have 2 weeks left in the license period or the full year left, depending on when they come in. It's not prorated. So,
Seems like a bargain.
yeah.
so she's gonna, how many
That's what I was
hours?
gonna say.
She's got to make up 2018,
It'd be 24 hours,
24 hours.
right?
Mhm.
And the live credit, the live 6 hours live, I believe that will continue to be waived, right? It's not required.
Yeah.
Correct.
So we're
So I
currently, we're in
think
the
we should,
biennium. All right, go ahead.
I think we should reinstate her, agree to that. I think
Well-
she's a lot less of an issue than that landscape architect who came forward a couple years ago, who'd been out for
10
several
years.
years.
Yeah. So Bob, I'm right that all she has to do is follow our process. We don't take exception to anything. And just
Right.
note that it would be 24 hours of CEUs.
Right. I have, like I said, normally this kind of, wouldn't be on the agenda. She requested it, which is fine. There doesn't seem to be any unusual issue. It's just she, like you said.
Yeah. So, I mean,
Yeah,
I think
when
it's
she-
great.
And then just a reminder to her that when she comes up in 2022, she's going to need the additional 24, correct?
That's
Correct.
right.
That's
Yes.
correct. Right.
So she should be 36.
She's in that zone right
rep-
now. So, but we don't need those right now. We just need
Right.
8.
The 24 just would bring her into the current cycle. And then
Okay.
next year,
And then she's going to need the rest of them.
right, she'll be back on track next year. Yep.
So Bob, because she sent the letter to the board, is this something that you can get back to her in an email, or should we send a letter and she addressed it to Chair Aragoni and members?
I think email communication is fine, whether it comes from me or you.
I would love it to come from you,
Okay,
but I think we have a process and she just needs to follow it, and we can remind her that she needs 24 to reinstate. And
Yeah.
oh, by the way, like Dom said, you're going to need 24 come
By next June.
2022. Yep.
there didn't seem to be anything unusual in her letter.
No,
She wasn't
no,
requesting any type of waiver or, I
no,
just
she
need
looks
to
like
reiterate the process to her.
she had a non-compete, I believe, and
Yeah.
okay, great. 5B, public member board appointments.
I was trying to rack my brain like the perfect kind of person to be able to do this, and I couldn't really come up with anything.
I think we've got people that have submitted. We just don't know if their applications, and correct me if I'm wrong, Phil, are just gone into the abyss at this point, right? We had somebody who wanted to be on the actual board. I may have another candidate, a real estate realtor that may want to be on there, but we just don't know what's going on with the process on the governor's side, I guess, for appointments.
Oh,
And that's my understanding as well, Dom. I know I've submitted at least 2 names.
Yep.
And this has been over a number of years, and the good description, they simply go into an abyss and nothing is ever heard again.
Even my process, Phil, it took a while. You and I were like, hey, if they're interested, hey, what's going on? It's like, oh, this person's going to talk to you. And I don't even know who that person is now.
Yep, that's right.
So Bob,
Can you help us with that, Bob?
do we know who our governor's liaison is?
Well, Don, did I email you that contact? I thought it's the person from our office would be Alan Deveda. She's the contact person that, between our department and the governor's office. I'll resend the email. I may be mistaken, but I thought I had emailed that to you after the last meeting.
Bob, would you just email that to everybody?
Yes, I will. Yep.
That email contact, and that would be that'd be fantastic.
Absolutely. I thought I absolutely will. Yeah.
Do you guys know specifically that your candidates or whoever you spoke to has letters sitting up there?
Mine does not. I'll reach out for the process, and then I can see. I want to talk to them a little bit more, but
Yeah.
it's
No, that would be great because I remember when I threw my name in the hat just for the Board of Landscape Architects. I found out who the person was, submitted a letter up there, and it sat there for like 2-3 years until all of a sudden you got the call.
Yeah, Mark, I did work with a candidate. You may know him. It's actually Steve Woods with Stonehenge Landscape,
Mhm.
who would be a terrific member.
Great.
Yeah,
Yep.
we certainly did submit a letter. Yeah. And I'd have to go back to my files. There was another individual too that I directed to send a letter, and I'm pretty certain they did.
And I think we all should be concerned because if we're going to continue with Zooming, I guess that's another question that we need answered at some point because it's going to be a lot easier to fill the void. The guy I have his name is Greg Broadbent. He's a real estate agent from southeastern Connecticut, and he seemed interested at a function I went to. And I said, right now we're Zooming. He's like, well, I don't mind going, and I don't mind going to Hartford once a year, twice a year. It's like, but if it was Zoom, it'd be great. He didn't lie about it. He said, he's a well put together guy. He's just like, listen, he's like, it's another thing I can mention to people.
Yeah.
Credit with the local landscape community, those guys, the designers down in that area. And then it gets, it's more advertising for the profession for him.
So if we have this contact, does it make sense to just, even though it's another letter or another email, just from the chair on behalf of the board requesting that we have some answers? We feel that we have candidates. What is the process for filling these vacancies? Just so we can say we submitted a letter. I don't mind doing that, but I think, Dom, we should continue to have conversations.
Yeah, I also want documentation, and that's why it's in the meeting minutes that we're actively trying to fill board positions.
Yep.
We've got candidates, and there's a sticking point that either they're getting lost in the loop, and it could be on our end, and it could be on the governor's office end. I'm not saying it is, but I just I'd love to have a robust commission of full board. At least 2 lay people, if not all 4. Right? We have
3.
Mark, I might suggest in your email, could you just state that we have submitted members and just get some verifications or denial that they have those letters?
Yep.
Yeah, because
that'd be a great step.
And copy us on it because if real gets the oil,
the whole board's going to be on it.
Yeah.
So then we know, Mark, if they actually have the letters or not, and definitively, if not, I think we can get them candidates pretty quickly. So that might just be what we need. That might just be the nudge we need to get some members.
Okay, I will do that on my list.
And not to beat the dead horse, but Mark, how important it is through your CLARB discussions to have public members. It's not a inconsequential thing. Our board is not that useful without citizen members, I might even say.
Yes.
Yeah. So
No,
interestingly, I just gave a presentation myself and another LA from Colorado gave a presentation to all the public board members that are members of CLARB.
Nice.
And believe it or not, there were about 60 people on the webinar. And we just sort of talked about what landscape architecture is about, because a lot of these public board members, you would be surprised. Some of them were architects, some of them were engineers, because there's a lot of combined boards across the country. And it doesn't necessarily have to have, if you're a combined board with architects, engineers, and landscape architects and interior designers, that public board member may have no idea really what landscape architecture is about. So we gave a presentation. I thought it was pretty well received. And then we did talk about, you know, vacancies throughout the country, and, you know, we're not alone. But it does stink that we don't have any. And we really need to try and get some on this board. So I will do that. 5C. Oh, this is a new one. This is interesting. Email dated August 2nd concerning request for curriculum review for the Academy of Art, University, San Francisco, pursuant to state section 20-370. So Bob had contacted me that he received an email inquiry from, I don't know, was it a professor or sort of the head of the department out there, and basically saying that he had someone who wanted to sign up to take their courses, and he had been doing his research and found that Connecticut had an alternative path to licensure. And his request was, hey, what can I tell this potential student if they take and go through our program? That he was very upfront and said that it was not LAAB accredited. Do they still have an opportunity to go before your board and potentially sit for the exam and get licensed? So what I did is I, number one, had Bob thank him for reaching out before they just showed up with a passing exam grade. And then I asked them to submit their curriculum so our whole board could review it and maybe give them some feedback. And that's pretty much where we are, Bob. Did I summarize that correctly?
You did. The candidate still has to complete the experience component too.
Correct. Correct.
As far
So
as the education.
Bob had sent out in an email the semester syllabus.
Start talking, or other one go on and make comments before I go on my spiel about this?
I guess the only thing I would say is I'd like to keep the spiel specific to this program.
I have a quick question here because of the, is it a purely online course? Because I thought that was the implication in one of the documents, was that it was an online
Degree?
yeah, which I think is counter to what, you know, the landscape architecture education experience is about.
I think that's the first question. We're going to have, Mark, I have some rebuttal questions before we determine anything for this. And I think that's a good question.
Yeah, and I want to have discussion. I didn't want to make any unilateral discussion or decision on it. So I just said, hey, let's get it to us and let's have a discussion. So we can go around, we can go around the table. There's only 3 of us, 4 of us.
Yeah.
So Dom, if you have some comments, concerns.
Correct. I think that was a good comment from Ann. My other comment was, is this there's a Bachelor of Fine Arts and Fine Arts that are being offered. Are they considering or going through the process of becoming accredited, or is that just not happening? I guess is another question that I would have. You know, in terms of, you know, the marketing says like you can be, you know, a couple of things in here. Obviously, for our path to licensure, I don't want to have a barrier. That's what I want. It is an unaccredited, separated path to licensure. My recommendation is it's a case-by-case basis. In terms of, I wouldn't recommend a blanket approval of this course curriculum because it could change. With that said, for us to really evaluate the course curriculum, I will want the course syllabus for every single class that they're offering, because we have no way of, there's an accreditation process for a reason. That accreditation process looks at the faculty that are teaching. It looks at the course specific. It looks at the grading criteria. I mean, I think here we got a minimum grading of C- in all courses. There's a lot of open holes in here, and that can be solved with a case-by-case basis and evaluation of each candidate when they come out of the school. You know, the accreditation process, in my eyes, is to streamline this process to become a design professional, not only in the state of Connecticut, but other states around the country. I'm not saying that it seems like a nice, a nice set of what you're doing in here in terms of the core requirements. They sound interesting. I just, there's other qualifications that we need to understand before we could render any kind of decision.
Yeah, and I think that's a very fair comment. One thing that I agree with the syllabus, and we should look at these case by case. I think that's our duty. I don't think we can give a blanket, yep, looks great, tell them to go ahead, sign up, and it's more so, yeah, there's going to be some risk reward. I think that somebody signs up and takes it and then comes back to us with their product and their scores and their grades. My one thing that I want to reference back to how we function right now is that we do have the ability, and we have previously, a case-by-case basis, looked at undergrad degrees in similar or related fields like engineering, that got the experience under an LA, passed the exam, but had an engineering degree. So I look at this and say, well, geez, this is actually much more specific to landscape architecture than the engineering degree was. So I just don't want to blur that line. And I totally understand everything Dominic said, and I agree with it. But, if somebody came to us with an engineering degree, civil heavy, had their experience requirement underneath in LA, and passed the exam, we'd be hard pressed not to
Correct.
give them a license.
But I don't want us to give them a recommendation or an inkling of a recommendation that says that we endorse their program when it's not an accredited institution, where they could market it as, all of a sudden we're going to start getting Academy of Art University students. They're going to say, hey, wink, wink, nod, nod, go to Connecticut. They're going to let you in every single one.
So I think a response back would be, and again, Ann and Phil, if you have any comments, just feel free to chime in, but a potential response would be, we cannot endorse anything at the moment. We would look at everything on a case-by-case basis when all the application materials are submitted, prior to sitting for the exam, preferably, because that's how it's written right now.
Yep.
But if they wanted to provide detailed syllabus, we'd be happy to provide feedback. I think that's kind of our role. We could provide them feedback if they did more detailed course curriculum.
There should also be a recommendation that they should look at accreditation to streamline their process.
Yeah.
How does this align with the spirit of alternative path to licensure? Because I think about somebody who's getting an engineering degree, and I think they're not going to have a deep bench on plants, for example. They might be great at grading and drainage, and how are their design chops, that kind of thing. So this is a much more art forward program, it seems. They're an Academy of Arts. I'm just wondering, with the alternative path to licensure policy, what was that meant to embrace or acknowledge, or what sort of applicants?
This is my opinion. I was on the advocacy committee when that happened. We had as you guys know, the history of when the rules were, or the law had some slight tweaks to it. My personal opinion is our law back then was fine. Tweaked it so we're more inclusive, that we could do a case-by-case basis. So you might have somebody who, like you said, Ann, has the design chops, but you might have the engineering chops. As you guys know, you've got landscape architects that don't know the difference between an azalea and a rhododendron. I'll be completely honest with you. I know some. And then you've got ones that can grade, that can't grade. They can design, but the design looks great, but if it can't be built, that's a problem. So we wanted to make sure you've got the design aspect, the arts aspect. You can bring these people from different urban, suburban, engineering backgrounds, architecture backgrounds, even high design, garden design backgrounds into the profession and be licensed. So there is a path for each of them. The historic reason why was we had a garden designer who wanted to become a landscape architect.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
So there should be, a clear path or a path. I felt the old law had that. It basically said, I was a champion of, what if someone can't go to college, but there still should be a path. And that path was 8 years under a licensed landscape architect. You have to pass the test. And it gave it. That was taken away in lieu of alternate path. And I thought that was wrong back in the day, but the other thing is, well, why should someone have to wait 8 years? Well, I think that's an apprenticeship route that should have been there, but it also qualified. Well, if she had been doing garden design for 6 years, we could, there's an alternate path in there now, except that there's also an alternate path. Let's say, like you said, we could have someone come to us and say, listen, I want to take the exam. I graduated high school. It gives them that alternate path to say, we can work with someone to make sure we don't have a barrier for them to practice with.
Got it.
So Dom, you jog my memory, and you guys correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm remembering this came about because our law was challenged, right? By a state legislator.
Yep.
And Vince McDermott worked out this compromise.
Yep.
Is that right, Mark?
Pretty much.
That's right.
I can get you the state senator. Yeah.
That's the story. It was a compromise worked out by our board chair at the time, Vince McDermott.
Yeah.
And this is what they came up with. So, I mean, that's exactly how we got here.
Yeah.
So
It's sounding like it's an institution that's advocating for itself versus a person in this case, right?
Well, they made it sound like it was a person. And it very well could be a person, but it's definitely in combination with their institution. And,
correct.
If they get a letter from the State Board of Landscape Architects in the state of Connecticut that said, oh yeah, everything looks good, which we simply don't have enough information to make that call, nor
I think even if we did have enough information, we state the party line. When your applicants come out of college and they go study under that, there's a risk that they will not be allowed to get licensed. Or maybe they will be, depending on how it works, and we strongly suggest, there's an accreditation process for a reason. Maybe that separate path is for other design professionals, and it's a combination thereof of master's degree with an undergraduate. I mean, we can take a lot of different types because of the work that landscape architects do, in terms of where they work and how they operate. However, we have to have a certain set of standards, and we're not going to endorse your program. Or I wouldn't endorse the program at this point. I wouldn't endorse it regardless if we had all the information.
Yeah, I don't know if we can say that though, because like I said, I would take a course curriculum that's more closely aligned with landscape architecture than
I would, but I would do it on a case. I would do it on a case by case basis because they change every. There's if they're not accredited, this can change tomorrow.
Yeah,
be completely different.
Yep. So Bob, I think we owe the person a response back. Is it something where, do you want me to take a stab at drafting something up? I can send it around to the board. I want to keep it simple. It's not going to go into extreme detail. And then maybe you can deliver that message back to them.
Actually, I would appreciate that, Mark. I'd be more comfortable, especially in this situation, since I don't want to say something that could impact the board is laying some groundwork here. So
Yeah.
I think it's important if you would head, do that and round it up through the board.
Yeah, I think that's fine.
That'd be
Tom
to
brings up,
communicate,
yep,
to make sure there's not, I don't want to take any liberties or misinterpret something and have it be, like Dom said, we're setting a.
yeah, I mean, I think we can say, I'm very excited that they're trying to get to this point and offering this type of coursework.
Sure.
I don't want to just, tell them they're not worthy. It's all good that they're getting down this road, but we have to look at everything on a case by case basis, and we look forward to them continuing to move forward toward accreditation.
Yep.
Okay, good. And I know that Phil has a hard stop at 10:30.
I think you have a quorum without me, don't you?
I believe we do. We have.
Yeah.
we do.
Yeah, I've got a hard stop too, so.
At what time?
10:30, I've got to get on the road to a meeting, so, can we
Okay,
get through the applications?
we can get through the applications.
Mr. Chairman, may I say something quickly?
You most certainly can.
There was an add-on that I sent, and I apologize for the late email that I sent. I believe it was yesterday, for Mr. Samuel Thompson. He was also applying by written exam,
Right.
and I
Yeah.
sent his credentials out. I was hoping so that he wouldn't have to wait till November if we can get him on.
I would suggest to do the time constraints, we do not put him on.
Which one was that?
Samuel Thompson, 1589.
Is there a reason? I mean, did he miss a deadline for submission of his materials?
By the time he applied and when Clark got his records transmitted, the agenda had already gone out. Not, he just missed it. 10 days.
Let's take them. Let's take the ones that we have right now. That was Jensen, right? Which one was that? That wanted to be added?
Samuel Thompson.
That was Thompson. Okay. Let's see what we can do with the ones that we have right now. Did everybody review them? Or do we
Yeah.
want to take a couple minutes to go through them? And were there any triggers that we want to have a discussion with any of the applicants, excluding Mr. Thompson at this moment?
I did not see
reviewed
the
them.
triggers.
The applicant Mattie, Mattie,
Yep.
she had many different jobs. I guess it all adds up to 2 years in any case.
She is actually on. I can, let me,
Well, I mean, do we have a question for her?
Yeah, I don't want to put her on if we don't have a question for her.
I agree, yeah.
okay.
So here's the only challenge. This gets back to the unverified work experience. To get to her 2 years, she has Austin Gainham landscape design, but it's unverified of 5 months.
Mm-hmm. That's what I wanted to know.
But she also has Studer, Eric Rains. So she actually does have her 2 years without the, even if we exclude the unverified, she's at the 2
She's
years.
at Castle Booze right now, right? So-
Yep,
Okay, so I'm
Regardless,
fine.
Yeah,
she has it.
Okay, very good. So I move that we approve Siva, Feng, Jensen, King, Mattie, and McKetty.
second,
Any discussion? Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, none. Okay, I think if we can look at Mr. Thompson's that was submitted, does everybody have it? It was
Yes.
sent out in an email. passing exam, Iowa State degree accredited.
Work experience, check.
Well, let's just look at that work experience. 4 years, Iowa Community Visioning,
Working right now.
part-time. Jeffrey L. Bruce.
Oh, he worked for J.L. Bruce, huh?
Yeah,
God rest his soul. David Stokes.
Got 4 months with an engineer surveyor.
yep,
I mean, 4 years, sorry.
4 years.
Yeah.
Anybody want to make a motion?
I move to approve the application for licensure for Mr. Thompson.
Second.
Any discussion?
Phil, that was you second?
Yes.
Sure. All in favor? Aye. Okay, 5E, we don't have to take any action on those. Does anybody have any questions? That is simply administrative approval.
For the board's
Sounds-
information, correct?
Acknowledged.
5F, corporate practice, Lorero and Towers. Okay, we don't have to make any action on those. Okay, just before you guys leave, I'll put this under correspondence. It could have went under new business as well. Clarb made a presentation this past week under a regional format where they're putting together a unified application draft. So what they're trying to do is looking at all their membership and trying to come up with something that may satisfy a uniform application that would be accepted for all members of Clarb, all licensing. And I can't just say it's the United States because now there are several entities outside of the United States that have licensed landscape architecture or regulated landscape architecture. They had put together a very nice presentation. It was a public presentation. I have a copy of it. I would love to share it with you. There's a lot of information in there, but it sort of gives the guidelines of what a uniform application process might look like. It gets back to, I'll give you some summary, and we don't have to go into detail right now. It will be talked about at the Clarb annual meeting coming up at the end of September. It's just in draft form. It's for discussion. They're not making any movements or anything like that. The Clarb board did vote on it to say, this looks acceptable. Let's get it out for discussion and have people discuss it. I think, and a lot of my fellow board members do say, the hardest thing is going to be, even if we got agreement, it'll be, how do you get this through legislative approval in each one of these individual states? But things that they're looking at are, is there an 8-year, Dom, we just talked about this, is there an 8-year requirement that goes for experience, but is there a way to chip away at that 8 years? So if you go through a LA certification process, that's a 2-year program, do you get those 2 years towards the 8 years of experience? So you have to get 6 years of experience under a licensed landscape architect. It also puts a little more clarification on if you have a degree in a related field that's not LAAB certified, you don't get a 1-to-1, a four, if you go to a 4-year engineering degree, potentially you get half a credit or half a year for that 1 year, but everything is based on that 8 years of experience. So if you go to a 4-year accredited LA program, you get those 4 years towards your experience, but you still need to get 4 years of experience after that. So
I
it gets a little harder. And it also opens up the pipeline a little bit, where if somebody like San Francisco Academy of the Arts comes in and says, we have a certification process, we know we're not accredited. Okay, it's a 4-year program, you're not accredited. Your students will get 2 years. They're still going to have to get 6 years of experience under a licensed landscape architect. It puts more emphasis on the experience, which I'm in favor of. But it also opens up, not everybody can go to a 4-year accredited university. It opens up that pipeline a little bit more. So I'm going to send the presentation out to you guys, give you a little bit of time. It's actually pretty interesting.
Mark?
Yep.
What are they doing about, and this is something, and I don't know if you brought it up, and we had the comment at our last meeting from the lady who came and talked to us. You know, there's the sections of the test. I'm a big proponent of, you don't sit for the test until you've had some experience under your belt. You shouldn't start taking a test right after you graduate.
Yeah.
Been any discussion at the CLARB level of like what the engineers do, like an EIT, or you take the theory and the history and all that stuff early, and then like grading and layout, you wait a couple of years and take.
Yeah, there has been discussion, but nothing to say that you'd have to have that certain experience before you sit for the exam. However, you'll also see in this, and I'm being cognizant of the time here, I got 10:27. You'll also see that they have put together sort of a chart, 4 or 5 topics of where that related experience should come from. And although it's not going to be a requirement in this draft, it is a guideline to say you really need to hit 3 of these 4 specific experience areas. Great. We talked about it a little bit, grading and drainage, layout, health, safety, all relating back to that health, safety, well-being, health, safety, welfare. So it's a lot of information. I know it pretty well. I'm still, getting up to speed on it, but I'm going to share this presentation with you all so you can digest it and we can continue to talk about it. But if you have any specific questions, feel free to shoot me an email or give me a phone call and I'll try to do my best to explain it. CLARB annual meeting is coming up. Phil was thinking about attending. He's got a schedule conflict. It's going to be hybrid. So there is an opportunity to log on and watch it or participate. They've got it down to a day or a day and a half. So it's not, it's not like you're going to be there in front of your computer for 3 days. I'll be there just because I'm still on the board. But there is that opportunity. So I'm going to throw it out there. There'll still be a fee for it, but we still have the credit. Our state board has that credit that if somebody wanted to attend, by all means, I'd love to have somebody else attend virtually.
When is it?
God,
The 22nd, September 22nd, is that right?
Yeah, 22nd or 23rd. Yeah, it's Thursday, Friday, somewhere in that area. But I can get the information. Actually, all the information is in the presentation that I'm going to send you.
Okay.
All right. And if you're interested, I think the cutoff for registering is mid-September. So we got a little bit of time. But if you coordinate with me and Bob, if you got an interest or the whole group, I'd love to have somebody else because there's going to be a lot to talk about in this meeting and discuss. The other thing is there is board elections this time around. What we've done in the past is you've given me authority to vote, but I can also send out that ballot. It's interesting. Daniel Biggs is on the, I think we got another local person who's on the trying to get on the Leadership Advisory Council or the nominations committee.
I give you authority to vote, or at least my authority.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
You know the
So, Bob,
players better than we do.
Bob, you have that paperwork. I'm going to need you to at least, you can be the authorizer to authorize me. I sent that out to you.
Okay.
All right. But I will send this presentation out. It's actually very interesting and I'd love feedback. CLARB would love the feedback on it. Okay. I think we're good. And I thank you for sort of putting this in a little bit of high speed.
Hi, Phil.
So we will end this meeting at 10:30.
Good job, Mark.
Mark,
Yes.
hang on, just, thank you. Just please, before
Stop
you
the
log
recording.
off, stop the recording, yeah, officially, yep. 10:30 we ended, right?
Yeah, 10:31.